Hello everyone, welcome to AWS Tutorials. In AWS Tutorials, you can use workshops and exercises to learn about AWS services. We have a website called aws-dozo.com where we publish all our workshops and exercises, and you can use detailed instructions provided in the exercises or workshops to implement a particular scenario and learn AWS services in the course of the implementation. Today we are going to talk about AWS Service Catalog, which we will use to create a self-service repository so that your end users can create AWS resources in a compliant and managed way. So let's get some introduction about AWS Service Catalog first, and then we will talk about the scenario and how to implement the scenario. So AWS Service Catalog, when the organization grow bigger, they have a challenge that their end users should be able to create AWS services in a certain standard way. For instance, when they are creating S3 bucket, the S3 bucket should not be public. It should be by default encrypted. It should follow certain naming convention and so on and so forth. And what you can do is that with AWS Service Catalog, you can create a self-service repository in such a way that when the end users create resources, the resources are created with the standards you define. Okay. It also enables self-service because the end users don't need to come to you all the time for creating resources for themselves. You have provided a service catalog. They can log into the service catalog, can see the product which they are authorized to launch, and then they can simply launch those products to create the AWS services in a standard way. You can also restrict your user in such a way that they can create AWS services only through Service Catalog. They cannot go to AWS Console and launch a service themselves. Okay, so that's what we are going to see today in the scenario as well. Let's see what is the view from the administrator of the Service Catalog. So if you are defining Service Catalog as an administrator, what you do. So primarily what you do is that you create products, and these products are nothing but cloud formation templates which create a particular service or set of AWS services in certain standard way you want to create with some predefined configuration and everything. So you define various products like that using CloudFormation templates, and then these products are then categorized into various portfolios. And it is the portfolio where you provide access rights to end users. So you can say some users saying that, okay, you have got access to portfolio A. That means the person can launch the product of the portfolio A. If some user has got access to both portfolio A and portfolio B, then that person can launch product as a part of portfolio A and B. So portfolios are a way to organize your products, and they are also a way to provide access rights to the end user in terms of which user can launch which product. So that's how administrators manage the portfolio and the product for the self-service catalog. Now, from the end user point of view, when you log in, you have been assigned a set of portfolio depending on who you are and which department you are from or what kind of services you want to use. And then when you go to AWS Service Catalog, you can see a list of products which you can launch. And all you do is simply launch the product. And when you launch the product, actually through the parameterization into cloud formation template, you might be asked to provide certain responses, and based on those responses, then the products are provisioned to you in a standard and compliant way. Yeah, so that's how the end user view look like. That you simply log in, you see the product which are assigned to you, you can go ahead and launch your product. And when you launch the product, the AWS services are created for your users. So that's how Service Catalog works. It's pretty simple, but a very powerful service to manage enterprise level self-service catalog for the end users. The scenario which we are going to build today is pretty simple one, but to be honest, it will give you a good idea about what exactly needs to be done in order to create self-service catalog. So what you're going to do in this case, that you're going to create 5 products, and these 5 products will simply go and launch DynamoDB, Redshift, S3, SQS, SNS services in a certain configurable way, some certain way. And then these products are then organized into 2 portfolios, database and app service. And then we will create 2 users, database users and application users. And database user will be assigned to only database portfolio, while application user will be assigned to both database and application portfolio. And then once you have done this configuration as an administrator, then you will log in as a database user or application user, and then you will be able to see only the products which are assigned to you, and you will be able to launch it. We will also provide a configuration where you can restrict user to be able to launch service only through Service Catalog, not from the AWS Console. So we will also talk about how to configure such constraints. Now, generally in production environments, you create portfolio based on the requirements of the end users. So if some people are working into serverless, you might create a portfolio for serverless. If you know that some group or department is using certain set of services, you can create portfolio for them. And your products also are not as simple I have shown over here, because keeping this in a workshop, you have to keep it a little simple so that people can finish it fast. But your product could be a more complex product where you can say, I'm going to launch a virtual private network, and then in that I will go and launch EC2 instances and even configure them for the deploy applications on top of that. You can go for that complex product as well. By end of the day, that is how you do in CloudFormation template. So these products are also using CloudFormation template, the simple ones to create the product. But in actual production, you might want to go for more complex products. Again, it depends on your end user requirements. So let's go and talk about how to build this scenario end to end. For that purpose, we have provided a workshop. The workshop URL has been provided in the description box of the video. If you follow that link, it will show you a detailed instruction about how to configure AWS services in order to implement this scenario. We have a website called aws-dozo.com where we provide similar other workshops and exercises. Each of them implement a small or big scenario like this. And in course of that implementation, you learn how to use certain AWS services to implement a scenario, a use case, which end of day solves a business problem. So you can run this workshop by your own, but anyway, I'm going to quickly walk you through the steps in the workshop so that you get an idea about why we are doing certain things in certain way. So let's go to the workshop now. So this is our website, aws-dozo.com, where we have opened the workshop. So there are many workshops there, but we have opened this particular workshop, which is about Service Catalog. And If you click on the start button over here, you can see the workshop is started. And there you have to perform these 10 steps one by one in the sequence. And each of steps has provided detailed instruction about how to configure AWS services to make this whole scenario work. Yeah, all you have to simply follow these detailed instructions, and you will implement the scenario, and also you will learn how to use AWS services to implement this kind of scenario. So let's start with the steps. The first step is prerequisite, which is pretty simple and straightforward. You need to have an AWS account with administrative access. And if you don't have, then you can use a free trial account as well. And I have provided a link over here for that purpose. Create a free trial account. But if you have one AWS account with administrative access, you are good to go ahead. So what are we building? I think I described this earlier as well. We are going to create 5 products, put into 2 portfolios, and then we will create 2 database users, 2 users, and these users will be assigned access to different portfolio. And then what we will do is that we will log in with these users' credentials to see what product the users are assigned to, and they can launch the product. And that's how we will first configure things from the administrator point of view, and then we will use it from the end user point of view. So the next step is then go ahead and create the users. So very first step, let's go ahead and create these 2 users, database users and application users. And you create that into your IAM console. In IAM console, you say, I want to give only console access, and then you give some password over here, which you can use to log in later. Then here, what we are giving him that this person has got end user access to Service Catalog, but everywhere else he has got only read-only access. That means he can see the products created, but he cannot create the product from the console. Now, again, I have given here one set of permission, just keeping in mind that, hey, you can create product only from Service Catalog, and then you can see the product, but nothing more than that. But based on your end user consumption, you can go ahead and define the policy of the end user the way you want to define. But for this scenario, what we are saying is that you have full end user access to Service Catalog, but read-only access to other services, so that the whole purpose is that when those services are created, at least you can go and see that those services are created. So we attach those policies to the end users, and then we create the users. When the users are created, you are given a URL, a sign-in URL, which the end users will use during the testing time to log in and launch the product. So my users are created. Next, we go ahead and create IAM role. And why I'm creating an IAM role? Because we are saying that end user cannot launch the product. Service Catalog has to launch the product for the user. That means Service Catalog needs to have certain authorization to be able to launch the product. And this role provides authorization to the Service Catalog. So we are creating a role for the Service Catalog. So you choose Service Catalog as the service associated with the role. And then to keep it simple, we are giving administrative access. Again, in production environment, you will not give administrative access. You will simply say that, hey, I'm going to give only those access to the Service Catalog role, which will give only required permission to Service Catalog to launch certain set of product, nothing more than that. But keep it very simple over here, and fast enough, we have chosen administrative access. And then we give it name called AWS Dojo Catalog role. And this role then later will be used by Service Catalog to launch the product on the behalf of the user. So we simply go and create the role. After creating the role, the next step is to create the product. So remember, we have to create 5 products. And what I have provided over here is 5 YAML files, 5 cloud formation templates to launch these products. And these products are created very simple. They have certain parameters to take certain inputs from you and then simply launch the service. So what you do to create the product, so these templates are already ready. You don't need to worry about that. If you have your own template, to be honest, you can use that as well. And there's no hard and fast rules over here, but you do have some sample templates to play with. Then what you do next is that you go to Service Catalog and then click on the products because you want to upload a new product. Say, I want to upload a new product. It will say, okay, so where is your template for the product? And simply you use these URLs over here to provide templates for the product, and then you create the product. So so I showed you in this example that how we created a product for S3. Similarly, using those templates, you have to repeat these steps and create products for SQS, SNS, DynamoDB, and Redshift. Once the products are created, you can see that all the 5 products are created, then you have to go and create portfolio for these products. So in the same Service Catalog console, and you can go and click on, and you have logged in as administrator at this point of time, so using your own login and password with administrative rights to the AWS console. You click on the portfolio, then create portfolio, give portfolio a nice name, and then simply simply create it. So you create both portfolio. One is your app service portfolio, second is a database portfolio. And once portfolios are created, the first step is to associate the portfolio with the product, because portfolios are nothing unless they have a product, because when people are assigned permission to the portfolio, then they get access to launch products under the portfolio. So we need to associate products with this portfolio. And that's what we are going to do next now. So you click on a particular portfolio. In this case, we are clicking on App Service Portfolio, and then you go to the Products tab over here and say, I want to add a product to the portfolio. You click on that. It will show you, wow, there are 5 products over here. Which one you want? You select a particular product. Like in this case, we are selecting product S3 and say, hey, click this add this product to the portfolio. And then products get added to the portfolio. Similarly, you have to finish the remaining product to portfolio association. So as we mentioned the scenario that your S3, SQS, SNS, these 3 products has to be associated with the app service portfolio, and your product DynamoDB and Redshift has to be associated with database portfolio. So your product to portfolio assignment is complete. Next, we are going to configure the user assignment. So now the product portfolio has got a match. Now we need to match the user and the portfolio so that users can then launch the product under the portfolio. And that step is very much similar to what we did now. For instance, in this case, we are again going to list the whole portfolios, and then you click on the database portfolio. And under database portfolio, you can go and click on group, roles, and user. That means you can assign permissions to the groups, roles, or user. In this case, we have got users, so we'll assign the permission to the user. So you go over here, and there are 3 tabs, and in this case you're going for the users, and then you can see your application and database list users are listed over here. And if you remember, your database has got access to both database and application users. So we select both database and application users because both users have access to the database portfolio, and we simply say add access. And then these 2 users got assigned to this particular portfolio. Similarly, you go to the app service portfolio, and app service portfolio also is also assigned to the application user, and you can go and add in app service portfolio access to the application user. And when you do this association, essentially what it means that application user can access both database portfolio and app service portfolio, while database user can only access the database portfolio. So this completes your portfolio to users association. And now one last step left before end users can go and test it, and that is that user should not be able to create the service from the AWS console. They should able to launch service, but they should be able to launch service from the service catalog. And for that, we go and configure the portfolio constraint. Again, this step is similar to previous two steps. Actually, you click on the portfolio, then you click on a particular list of the portfolio, then you click on a particular portfolio, which is database portfolio in this case. First we are doing, then you go to the constraints, and then in the constraint, there are various types of constraint you can define. So you can really define that how to use the template, how to get notified, how to create the stack, how to update the tag. You can do many constraint. The one constraint we are using over here is called a launch constraint. A launch constraint is basically saying that this service catalog will use the following role to launch the product. And the user, so even if the user does not have permission to launch the product, the service catalog has. So if the user is trying to create service directly from the console, it cannot do, but when it tries to do it from the service catalog, it can do. So simply select the launch as constraint, then select which role this service catalog is used to launch the product, and we simply mention the role which we have created in the earlier steps, and you complete this constraint. This constraint has to be configured each product wise. So you can see that in database portfolio, we are configuring it for both DynamoDB and then for Redshift. Sorry, Redshift first and then DynamoDB. Then you have to go to app service portfolio and you have to complete the similar constraint on the same step for S3, SNS, and SQS portfolio. And with this, actually, your administrative side of the work is complete. Now, the end users have to use the stack, the portfolio. So let's see that how it works. So in the next step, we are going to log in first as a database user and then an application user. So I'm showing you a scenario with database users, but you can do that with application user as well because both are configured. So remember, we have a sign-in URL, which was earlier shown when when the users were created. We simply use that sign-in URL, database username, and the password you used earlier to log in. And once you log in and you go to service catalog, you can see, wow, so I'm a database user, and since I'm assigned to database portfolio only, I can only see 2 products which I can launch. I can't see the application service portfolio. And in this case, I can simply go and say, hey, I want to launch, say, DynamoDB. So you simply click on the product and say launch the product, and then it will, when you launch the product, it will start executing the CloudFormation template. It will first ask you, give me the stack name, you give the stack name, and then it will ask you for the parameters. And the only parameter in this CloudFormation template is give me the table name. Yeah, simple. So you provide the table name over here, and then you click on the launch button, and then the product is launched. And when the product is launched, actually, it will take some time before the status of the product changes to available. But when the status changes to available, you can actually go and go to DynamoDB AWS Console, and you can see that your product has been created. Similarly, you can launch other products as well. For the testing purpose, you can log in back as an application user, and then you can see that you have access to all 5 products in that case. And then you can launch the product the way you want to launch the product. That pretty much finishes the workshop because you have seen both scenarios. The first scenario where the administrator is setting up the service catalog for self-service. And then the second scenario where the end user used the service catalog for launching the AWS services. Okay, so that completes the workshop. Now I request all of you to complete the next step as well, which is the cleanup, because if you don't do that, then you might incur cost. After the workshop is finished. And to do so, the steps are pretty straightforward. First, you go to service catalog, delete all 5 products. Then you delete all 5 products. In fact, first you remove association. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, sorry, I'm not reading my instruction properly here. So first you remove the association between the product and the portfolio. Then you remove the association between your users and the portfolio. Then you remove the constraint from the portfolio. So once all these associations are gone, it's pretty straightforward delete. So you delete all 5 products first. Then you delete the 2 portfolio, and then you delete your 2 users and 1 role. And once you do that, actually your account is reset to where you started earlier. So this was the end of the workshop. Hope you like it. We have similar workshops available in our aws-dojo.com website, where you can implement scenario like this to learn about the AWS services. Hope you like it, and if you like this, then please click on the like button. If you have any feedback, then you feel free to provide us either in the comments box in the YouTube channel, or you can also provide at our aws-dojo.com website. Please subscribe to our channel if you want to be notified about such new videos coming in the future. Thank you very much, and have a nice day. Bye bye.